Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and some of you guys know that I am putting together my first real deal hardback photo book that's being printed in Italy. And some of you guys don't know that's what I'm doing, but for a while on my podcast, I've been going in with total transparency, sharing the costs of printing, the costs of shipping, how much the designer costs, and the pros and the cons of doing this versus doing that. And I thought that I would make a video here showing you the exact cost for printing the books based on if I get 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 books and how much shipping is. Like I said, the whole idea here is to be totally 100% transparent to share with you the costs that go into producing an actual printed photo book in Italy. I'm not sure there's that much information out there, but for me, I think that this is a joint venture between me and you guys watching, where I want to educate you as I'm being educated on the costs and the pitfalls of producing self-publishing my very own book. A little later on in this video, I'm going to show you where you can get the past podcasts where I've gone into even more detail so that you can follow the journey of producing this book. But the first thing I want to do here is jump into the quote that I have from a place called EBS, which is a large printing company in Italy that has produced some of the best photo printed books out there. You've got Helmut Newton's Sumo, they did the Pete Souza book, I believe, the Obama book, chronicling the 8 years, and they printed a ton of those. But I have the quote here because I want to go through it line by line with you so we can see exactly what the costs of the book are going to be. So obviously this was from, as you can see here, March 17th. Oh, and it says Bernie book. Yes, I will be producing the book with my Bernie Sanders photos from when I was on the road. Now, before you disconnect and say, oh, I'm not a fan, put that aside for a minute and let's just look at the nuts and bolts of making this book. And I will tell you that some people who aren't fans of Bernie, which is understandable, that's fine, you don't have to like Bernie, said, we love what you're doing with the book, and I'll even support the book because of all of this information that you're sharing, because of the transparency, and because of the story, and I love your work. So look, you don't want to buy it at some point, you don't have to buy it, but at least we can get educated together on the costs, regardless of this being a Bernie book or something else. So let's go into the size. Now, I don't know what 267 by 356 millimeters is, but thankfully they have it here in inches. It's 10.5 inches wide by 14 inches tall, portrait format. That means this. This is a dummy book that I have right here. This is your 14 inches tall. This is your 10.5 inches wide. The reason I did that is because of something like this, that when you open it, it is a 14 inch by 21 inch print. So that's how large it's going to be when it's open. That is a large 2-page spread, and I think the book's going to weigh in at something like 4-ish pounds. It's a pretty substantial book, but my whole thinking is if you're gonna produce something and you're gonna do a photo book, I don't want some dinky, boring, little portrait size 8.5 by 11 thing just because it was cheaper. Now I'm self-publishing, which means that I'm taking on all of the costs for the production, the cost for the shipping, the cost for everything, because you'll end up making more money off the back end anyway. And the truth of the matter is that publishing houses, publishing companies don't have a big following. I have a larger following by X amount more, X many times more than they do, which means I don't need them. They're just going to basically take all the profits and give me a small percentage when there's no reason to do that if I just front the costs of doing this. And so we're going to figure out the printing costs at the bare minimum in this video and share what those are. But the reason I'm doing a big book is to make a big impression. And one of the cool things that I'll be doing with this book is having audio commentary to go through it as you flip through the pages. You can listen to my audio commentary to get the behind the scenes of the moments and the images. I'll get to that in a minute, but I kind of want to go into this. So that's the size of the book. That's a dummy book. Now, quantities they priced out here are 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, and 2,500 copies. My goal is to hopefully, when it goes to Kickstarter, the reason I'm doing Kickstarter is because I can get you guys, my following, aware of my product. But being that this is a Bernie book and not just a book about me, there are a lot more followers out there in the world that don't know me but do know Bernie, and that's why I'm going to go to Kickstarter to hopefully get it jump started after you guys support it. If you choose to, I would appreciate it. Thank you. After you do that, hopefully it gets into the sphere, the Bernie sphere, and then it leads to a lot more, and maybe we need to do 10,000 books. And that would be pretty amazing if that happens. So right now we have 256 pages is what we put into the quote. We may end up doing less than that. Now it's printed 5/5 CMYK plus 1 PMS color on 200 GSM Garda matte art. Now I asked what Garda matte art is. Now Garda matte art is luster, basically. I was like, if you have Helmut Newton Sumo, that book, I love the printing in that book. I love that paper. I told him I love this paper, and I love how thick the contrast is for those black and whites. And so we're doing the 5 colors, C, M, Y, and K, and the 1 extra PMS color, which is a custom matched color, is another for making black and whites better. So we're doing duo printing, duo black and white. So we're adding an extra gray tone, I believe, to give us even better black and white, since a large portion of this book and my photos are black and white. So that's gonna look awesome. I'm waiting on a dummy book to come in the mail, and it's probably tomorrow, so I'm like, why am I doing this now? But I am. So that's the type of book. It's thick paper, it's gorgeous paper. End paper, let's not worry about end paper right now. Oh, my dad's calling for a change. I'm gonna have to call him back. Cover is printed 5/0, so that's nothing on the back. You've got CMYK plus 1 PMS on 150 GSM glossy art paper, matte laminated. I'll show you dummy books when we get those, but let's skip the jacket because I'm not actually doing a jacket. Binding is something totally different that we need to talk about. Now, I've had my the book designer, because I did hire a specific book designer for this. She's extremely good. I don't like to say expensive. It's an expense to have a book designer, but it's also going to save me a lot of time. It's somebody who project manages also, and they just know she knows what she's doing. She's worked with this printing company numerous times and has been there in person to oversee printing, so she knows what she's doing. So in the end, don't cheap out on something like the designer. She knows what goes into books, and that's why I'm going with her, or that's why I went with her. And she's been down here a couple of times going over book layouts. We filmed about 4.5 hours of us doing book layouts that we're gonna turn into videos so that you can be like a fly on the wall and watch the book being designed and she's asking questions and I'm answering them, and then I'm asking questions and she's answering them. It's gonna be really good. So we're going to talk about the hardback sewn sections. We're waiting on samples to show us the differences between the different types of binding. Now, the different types of binding will determine how much of a gutter there is. The gutter is when you open the page, how much of the photo do you lose in the gutter? I don't want to lose anything. And so that's why we're doing a specific type of binding, and I'm waiting on samples on that. But again, I need to get back to the pricing, Jared. Get back to the pricing. So binding, we'll get back to that later. Packaging, this is interesting. Individually shrink wrapped in approximately 8 copybooks packed flat in the 275-pound double-walled reinforced shipping export. So that's the carton, that's the cardboard box. Max of 15.5 kilos or 36 pounds on an export pallet. That's per box is 36 pounds. We're going to be ordering a lot of books. So this right here says client to supply high-res images as RGBs along with InDesign layout files, EBS to convert the images into CMYK or duotone, applying proper curves, supplying I think that's 1.5 rounds. I don't know what 1,5 rounds of Epson digital proofs. Not brought to you by Canon. Epson digital proofs for color verification. Upon color approval, EBS to supply 1 set of imposed blue lines for design, printing approval, and that's $1,300 for that. Now what that means is I take the raw files, they tell me how they want me to export them, we send that off to them, and then they make sure that they can match it to the color that I want, to my edits. Now we could outsource that to another company and save a couple $100, but we're better off having it done at the printing facility because those printers, they're printing it. So if they color correct it, or they make sure that everything is correct, then if something's wrong, it's on them. Meaning if they don't match to the proof, that's on them, but something tells me they're gonna match it really well. This is where we get into everything. So the A selection, which was the hard sewn selection, whatever. We've got hardback sewn section, 450 GSM cardboard cover wrapped with PLC, flat spine, H&Ts, and jacketed. I don't know what H&Ts is. I don't know what that is. Anyway, 1,000 copies is $26.20. So we know that's $26,000, $26,200 for 1,000 books. All right, so that's 1,000 books. And you see this ROs, that's run-ons of $9.27 each. So what a run-on is, that's, let's say they run those 1,000 books, and then there's 42 more that ran after. So you would get those books, those 42 extra, at only $9.27, which means you're making an extra profit on that. But the more books you buy up front, the lower the price gets per unit, which means you make more money. So let's go to 1,500 books. 1,500 books. So I've got my trusty Canon calculator that I got in Hawaii in a gift bag from Canon. So let's go. We got 1,500 times $20.20 is $30,000 and $30,300. So literally for, what's that, 3,000 and change. Oh, just do the math with the calculator. 26,200. So for 4,100 extra dollars, you can get 500 more books. Got to think that your profit's going to go way up the more that you buy. We're looking at doing roughly 2,000 or 2,500 copies. Hopefully the Kickstarter will kick into gear quicker. So let's just call it the 2,000 copies. Just for now. And we're doing it for this one. So we got 2,000 copies. So we got 2,000 times $17.35 equals $34,700. So for only 4,000 and change more, you get an extra 1,000. So let's see. That's so let's see. 26. So this minus 26,200. So for $8,500. Let's just go with this. $8,500 more, we get an extra 1,000 books. 1,000 books costs us $26,200. The second 1,000, when you buy it together, is $8,500 extra dollars. So you're saving it makes no sense to buy 1,000 of these when you can get another 1,000 for only $8,500. That's a no-brainer. That helps bring the price down. And as you buy more, I mean, the more you bring the price down, the more profit you get. So the second batch, which I'm not going to do the math for, is if we do a certain type of binding. Like I said, we're waiting on samples right now to determine which one I go with. We may end up going with the more expensive book. So instead of $17.35 per book, it's going to be $19.02 per book, which means it's $2 more, a dollar and change more a book. So you're adding an extra couple $1,000. But remember, I'm self-publishing. So I don't owe anybody else any money. I mean, I spend the money and then I got to recoup it. The price of the book that we're considering, let me check my time, just making sure I don't want to go over anything. The price of the book that we are considering is around $60 for the Kickstarter. So we're calling that, let's call it $60, is what we think is a reasonable price for a book of this size. I mean, I think that's a reasonable price considering that I've bought photo books from people that have done smaller runs at $60 and they're not 10 inches wide, 10.5 by 14 and weigh like 4 pounds. Now, I know it's not all about how much they weigh, it's about the quality of what's in it, but I don't think $60 per book is that bad. So let's look at profits potentially here if we have $34,700. Okay, obviously we can see that. So we've got 60,000 minus 34,700 is a potential profit of $25,300 if you sell those 2,000 books at $60. But what we're not accounting for yet is what does it cost to do the design. Like I said, my designer, there's a cost to this. It could be anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 or $40,000 for a designer. It could be $10,000 for a designer. We'll just call it $20,000, $25,000 is pretty reasonable, which is where I think we'll end up being. I'm not fully sure on that, but that you add right there is boom. So if I sell 1,000 books, I'm breaking even. Oh, I just spit all over the place. I'm potentially breaking even if I sell 1,000, which would be great. If I sell 1,000 books and I break even, so be it. But I kind of have a feeling we're going to hopefully do more. Plus, that's not taken into consideration that when you do a Kickstarter and you have the $60 book option is the base option. But then you add things like, do you want a book sleeve? Okay, the book sleeve now is going to make it a $75 book or an $80 book with the sleeve and an extra and a free print or something. Or if you buy the $150 version, it comes with a signed 8x10. So you got to remember there's going to be other ways to generate revenue through Kickstarter. So that's the pricing for that. You can see how the pricing goes down. Like 2,500 books, now you go down to $15.64 a book. So it keeps going down the more you purchase, but the run-ons stay the same price. I'd be happy if they just let the machine run on for a while, run on, and then I could be like, sweet, I got an extra 100 books for $927. There's a hell of a lot of profit in those run-ons. But what else we need to go into here is, let's go into the packaging. Here we have it right here, extras. We've got DP ocean freight delivery to one address in Philadelphia, hopefully not getting stuck in the Suez Canal. We got 2,000 copies, is $3,980. That's approximately 6,670 kilograms. It's 13 pallets. It's a lot. It's 13 freaking pallets. Where that's going, I think that may end up at my warehouse by the house. I may end up warehousing it there because I've got a garage that it could load into and then a warehouse. That's where it may end up. I may do all the shipping out of there. I'm not sure yet, but that adds another $4,000. Oh, and I didn't account for that extra $1,300. So we got $4,000, we got $1,300 is $5,300 more dollars on top of the cost of printing, which was the $34,000. And that's like, I think the first run, I think I'm about $65,000 in. Is what it's going to cost me to do the first run if I go with 2,000 copies. You're looking at about $65,000 to get those total printed and here, and that's before shipping, which I have to include in Kickstarter. I mean, these are the totally transparent things that we need to think about. And I'm being open about it because I want you to know what goes into producing a book like this, to self-publishing. The reason I don't think a publisher is worth it, let me go into that real quick, is they may front the money. They may give you an advance. So if they gave me a $20,000 advance to do a book, that money would have to go to pay for the designer. And then they front the money, the printer, they front the money for the printing. And so let's say it was $65,000 before I get any money, plus the $20,000 advance they paid me. So $85,000 in books need to sell before they're even recouped. And then at that point, they would only give you like 20% of the book sales. So 60 times 20, what's that like? I don't know, 60 times 0.2, that's $12 a book. Are you kidding me? $12 a book? That's a joke. That's why I wouldn't go with a publisher. They don't offer me anything. I don't need to get into a retail store. I'll be able to get it up on Amazon myself. I'll put it into Amazon, and then Amazon can ship them. And they can do it Prime. That's another way. Now that's going to cut down on my profits because Amazon takes a larger percentage, but it also opens me up to impulse buys in a larger part of the world. And these are all the things that you have to think about when you go into it. You don't think about the freight for getting the book here from Italy. Why are we doing it in Italy? Because they do fantastic work with the binding. They do amazing printing. And I just like what they've done in the past. I think they're great artisans, and that's why we're going there. We could go to China, but I would prefer not printing in China just because it has to come further on the boat than it does from Italy. But I also know that Italy does a fantastic job. And the last thing I want to have happen is, because it's a political book, that China's censors don't let it out. Because that is a potential there, is when they're exporting, China will be like, no. They can just flat out say no. It happened to somebody I know. I don't know if it's public. I think it is public. But I'm going to hold off on saying the name of him because his book ran into an issue when printed in China. They wouldn't release it because it had something to do, I don't even know if I can say it, so I'm not going to say it. But it had something to do with conflicts in the world, in Syria, and the book they just never let it out. They said no. And so they had to go print it, and they actually went and printed it at EBS where I'm having the printing done. Now, there were a couple of more things on this quote that I do want to share with you that I skipped over so we could get to that pricing. But we've got on here, we've got, let's see, large lenticular tip, flip-flop, 2 stages, size 240 by 340. I believe that was something like almost an 8 by 10 stuck on the front cover. This is $3.15 extra each. What is this lenticular? Does anybody remember Sport Flicks? You know, the cards where if you look at it like this, it shows you one image. If you look at it like this, it shows you another. I had the idea of doing a behind the scenes image of the senator and his portrait and have it so that when you do this, you can see one or the other, like you see whichever, depending on which way you're looking, that could have been the cover of the book. But I don't think I want to put that on the cover of the book. Plus adding another $3.15 a copy is quite a bit. But this is where the limited edition ideas come into play. Now, I may not tip that in on the cover because I think I like the cover that we're going with, but maybe I just have the lenticulars printed on their own at $3.15 each. Maybe I have a couple hundred of them printed and I offer, instead of the $60 book, maybe I offer it for $75, $80 and it comes with this lenticular. Now that's an extra 12, let's see, $3.15, let's do the math. $60 and $80. So for an extra 20 bucks, I'm making an extra $17, $16 and change. That's not bad, an extra $16 and change. If you sell 8, let's see, how many 80s? We sell an extra 100 of those. That's $8,000 for 100 versus $6,000. That's an extra $2,000, Jared. Stupid idiot. I'm not meaning to call myself an idiot, but math is simple. You know, if you sold an extra 100 of those, it's an extra $2,000 at the $80 place instead of the $60. All of this stuff is what we have to figure out. So that's what a lenticular is. Now let's see. We're also looking into doing a slip case. Now slip cases are pretty cool. They're a slip case. It's what you put the book into. Now it's with cloth, with one color foil stamping on front and spine, lined inside with serial color paper. I don't know what that is. Oh, lined inside with a paper. And that's $9.80 per unit. Now, lenticular tip-in on the slipcase would be another extra $1.35 per copy, which I don't think we're going to do because I like the design we've come up with, I think, for the cover. But that's an extra $10 for a slipcase. So I'm not going to order 2,000 books. That's an extra $20,000 if I did slipcases for everything. But maybe the slipcase version is $100 and it comes with a lenticular, or maybe it's $125 for the slipcase version and it comes with a lenticular and an 8x10 signed limited edition print. And so that's how you start building the Kickstarter so you could generate more value. I mean, $60 is great. And then we'll have the extras. I mean, I like the slipcase, but shit, an extra 10 bucks cost per unit. We have to mark it up so that we generate more revenue, which then helps us, it brings our per unit cost down. Like if we could sell on average, instead of $60 a book, you sell on average $100 or $85 a book, then that initial $65,000, let's see, $65,000 divided by 85, Jared, that math was terrible. So we've got $65,000, that's that. This calculator is so weird. It's like, this is why I use my phone. $65,000 divided by, what'd I say, $85 per book. Oh, that's 764 books sold, right? So 764 times 85. Yeah. Whatever I just said, and I already forgot it. So whatever I just said, 65, I didn't mean to lose you there. 65,000 divided by 85, so that's 700, we'll call it 765 books. Now, if we did the same 65,000 divided by $60, 85,000 divided by $60 is, you'd have to sell 1,416 books to do the same thing instead of the 765. So you see how when you bring your total, your per unit cost profit up, it means, well, we sold 765 books at $85 on average, we still have all of those other books to sell. So if you sell 765 of those and then another 1,000 or 1,500 of the other, your profits are going up. So that's the whole idea here. And I still think $60 is very reasonable for a book of this size, especially self-publishing and all the stuff that you're getting with it. Oh, let's get to that. So this is the EBS, what do we call this, proposal for the printing. Some things may change. Oh, also, if we end up doing less pages than 265, 256, which I think we're going to end up doing less pages than that, you're going to see that our per unit cost still will go down slightly. So that's not a bad thing at all. Now, I do want to show you some of the design real quick, but I do want to let you know if you go to berniephotobook.com, you can sign up to win a free print, one of 10 of them right here, and I'll only send you emails about the Bernie stuff. It's more to keep you aware of when the book is coming out, and you can go to the Kickstarter. So if you're interested in that, please go to berniephotobook.com, sign up, and as an incentive to sign up, I'm selecting people at random who do sign up to win a free 17 by 22 inch print signed by me. And I'll be doing that until the Kickstarter goes up. But also on this page, if you click on info, or you go to berniephotobook.com/info, you can see I've got past podcasts that talk about this, like Photo Stories explains why I'm doing this book. More Do Less Talk, what that's all about. The Bernie Photo Book is born. So you can go through all here. If you click on the episode number, it will launch Spotify for those who like to listen quicker, or you could listen right in the browser right here on the Squarespace website that I built this in. And you can, squarespace.com/FronosPhoto to get a 15-day free trial. If you decide that it's for you, use the code FronosPhoto at checkout to get 10% off your order. Whatever. I use Squarespace to actually build this. So this is where you can find all of the behind-the-scenes information for what I've been doing, all the transparency, and when I do come out with the layout and design videos, I will share those with you as well. Let me show you, do I have the cover thing popped up here? I don't. I don't have the cover thing popped up here. Hold on one second. Okay, so here's some of the cover ideas. Oh, and it had to be a vertical picture that's not cropped for the cover because I'm not cropping. Personal preference, but it was like one of the things that when the designer came back with a cropped image, I'm like, I can't do that. I can't crop the cover. I'm not doing that. So this is what she came up with. So this is like a photo here, which is nice, with the cloth that says Bernie here. That's an idea. So you can see that these are some of the ideas we were playing with, but this is like the cloth slipcase, which could be good. These aren't ideas that I'm going to go with. It's hard to say with the lenticular, but I don't like this. That's too sanitized. I don't like that look at all. I don't like the colors, but I do love the slipcase. So we're somewhere around this right now, and I actually don't dislike. I don't dislike this. I don't think we're going to use the gold, but I do love the gold slipcase. Vermont's colors are green and gold. And so that's why we thought about it. We're like, what are Vermont's official colors? And it's green and gold. So to me, that made it a good option for doing some green in the book and doing a slipcase that is on the gold front. A couple things I do want to show you. Ideas for inside the book. We're going to have the author statement. We're going to have an introduction. Then we're going to have basically the event, the location, the month. And that's what it's going to entail. But here's the gutter. You see how we have this gray line going down the middle? That's to denote where the fold is going to be. Now, I'm just going to swipe through this real quick because you can see we got a lot of stuff in here. I'll probably end up putting the PDF up of the book. I'll probably end up putting the full PDF up for anybody that wants to view it online because I know people aren't going to not buy the book because they can see the PDF of the book. My images are already out there. But we also have this that's going to go into it. Actually, let me show you this one. We're double checking everything right now, but in the back of the book, you're going to have each little photo that's going to say the time that it was taken. It's going to have Eastern Standard, Central Time, and West Coast because I was all over the place. It's going to have what cameras were used, what the settings were. But the book isn't about the how-to of photography, but I think people will find this interesting in the back of the book. So there's going to be some words in the book talking about certain sections, but a lot of it is going to be my commentary. So you'll be able to go to berniephotobook.com and get the commentary even if you don't buy the book. But I think that people who get the book will be able to listen to it like a podcast, or go skip around and be like on the page, like there's this photo and they want to hear the story of that. You can totally do that. There's going to be the documentary on the website. There's going to be so much extra content that goes with it, including hours and hours, tens and tens of hours of the behind the scenes content of making this book. And that's why I'm doing this, is because I want to be transparent. I want you guys to understand what goes into making a book, because I didn't know what goes into self-publishing, and that I want to share that with you so you have an understanding of the time, the months of work, the costs that are involved with it, so you can understand why the book costs what it costs. So I think that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it for now. I appreciate you guys watching this. This is something different than what I've done before, but please go over to berniephotobook.com and sign up so you can be notified when information comes out about the book. If you're interested in purchasing it when the Kickstarter goes live, please sign up on there. The incentive is I'm gonna pick some random people to win some of those prints. But also, if you think you're gonna wanna support the book, that's gonna be a big deal, because when we launch the Kickstarter, the whole idea is that if we get a ton of sales in the span of the Kickstarter, we're trying to line it up so that we don't have the final order in until the Kickstarter's almost over, so that we know if we need maybe 5, 6, 7,000 books. I mean, if we're able to go from, say, $17 or $18 per unit down to $10 a unit, and we save like $6 to $7 or $6 to $8 per book, you're looking at a profit going up maybe $24,000 to $26,000 to $28,000, depending on how many books you sell. So your profit goes up with the more you sell. So if you would support this, I would appreciate it. Even if you're not a Bernie fan and you just love the photojournalism and quality photo books, and you like the story of the photography that goes into it, I would appreciate it if you supported it. I mean, if not, I totally understand. It's not a big deal. I get it. But I would appreciate, for everybody that wants to support it, please go sign up so I can notify you when the Kickstarter goes live. And I'm enjoying this process and sharing it with you. So if you have any questions, you can text me at the text number on the line. You can sign up over on that website. You can leave some comments down below, and I'll be doing more of these videos just to share the behind the scenes of what goes into making a photo book. So thank you very much for watching. Jared Polin, PhonosPhoto.com. See ya.